still here. So, yeah. Hope you're doing pretty well. I've had a really, it's been a really rough month. Last 4 weeks, I should say. And so, yeah, it just is what it is. Life is rough sometimes, right? So I appreciate you all hanging out with me, and special shout out to VBAT for showing his face so that there's not, you know, any more discussion about any confusion over who is who. Yeah, anywho. What do we got going on right now? Well, I've got the Antonov. This is a plane that is currently for sale. Previously, us fine folks had to earn it with like a ridiculous 75 mission grind of ridiculousness. The grind was pretty ridiculous. What I really liked about the grind as well was that it wasn't an overpowered plane. This was a plane that came out right after like the XP-54, and I was like, oh man, are they gonna make some ridiculous grind for some overpowered tier 9 Soviet fighter? Are we gonna have to be dealing with this kind of shenanigans at the higher tiers now? And the great thing is, the Antonov is a good plane. It is by no means overpowered though. I think it's actually really well balanced. Shoot. Double shoot. What are we doing here? So the guns can be very tricky. They're 23mm cannons, so you would think that you're pretty used to them. Problem is they're kind of separated on the cowling, meaning that just doing your normal aiming straight forward kind of thing and assuming they're going to hit is not going to work with this plane. You actually kind of have to aim them like you would 30mm cannons. Give them extra lead, because your bottom two 23mm cannons tend to go a little bit further behind the target. No, we want to get this guy right here. See how I'm aiming a little bit farther forward? There we go, perfecto. Let's dive back down. So the thing with the Antonov is you don't have a lot of altitude performance. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. Hello, sir. You know what? I just don't really want to hang out behind you. I don't know why I'm doing that. You're a turn fighter of sorts, but you're not like the turniest of turn fighters. This plane, when it first came out, I said, man, this fits where I would assume the tier 9 Lavochkin should sit. And it kind of sort of does. If you're used to like LA9, that's what this plane would have been, basically, if you think of it in that kind of terms. And if you think of it in that kind of terms, you're going to have a lot of success with this plane. It flies very much like you would think like an LA-13 would fly. Oh, is this guy coming back at me? You coming at me, bro? F-86 can completely own my face, but not when he's on 36 health. XF-90 can completely own my face, and he's on full health, so I can't chase him down or anything. This plane is a lot of fun. It's pretty good, but don't expect it to be like the world's best tier 9 fighter. It just isn't. But it does have a good place to be. I think a lot of people would prefer this over the LA-160, which is the regular tier 10, regular tier 9 Soviet fighter on the Lavochkin line. I'm willing to bet the vast majority of people got to the LA-160 and were like, wait a minute, what is this? And then we got to the tier 10 LA-15 and we're like, okay, well, good, back to normal, back to good. Can we get that? Can we get that? I'm going to go over there and never mind. There's nothing over there to go get. There's a lot of stuff that can come get me. So let's head on over here. Is this guy coming back at me? Oh, whew. He was. You do not want to go head on versus a BVP 215. Okay, let's get out of this sector. I do not like being here. I don't have any friendlies to distract, and I'm on relatively low health. Let's go ahead and get Das Boosten going here. Let's get over to the... Ah! Flip a dip, man. I'm trying to itch my nose. Jerk. Typical XF90. Doesn't even hang around to say hi. Alright, let's get some wrench. Let's turn back around, see if we can't help capture that mining facility. What are you? You're a Seahawk, huh? Nice! We did get the mining facility. Perfecto! Can we get that guy? Just have a bunch of somebody go after that dude? I'm actually gonna go back here and defend here for a little bit. I think this XF90 is inbound on my position. Oh, he definitely is. No, dude. This ain't my first rodeo. He's faster than my bullets! We can still send people his way, though. What the flip a dip? Get more damage done to me from the F-84 than the XF-90. We need to get some wrench before we are in more trouble. No, dude, stop it. Ain't nobody got time for this. Okay, let's just use the pneumatic control assists. Up, I've overheated my guns like a moron. Cool. I swear I'll talk about this plane eventually a little bit more. It's got pretty darn good maneuverability at low speed. It has pretty darn good speed, but it takes a while to get there. So don't expect to hit the brakes, make a sharp turn, and then boost again. It's just going to take a little while. I need to watch the heck out of the map, because that XF90, he wants me. He wants me real bad. I think he wants everybody real bad, though, so... Dang it! This frickin' F-86 is being annoying. But, I mean, I guess a kill's a kill. We're gonna win this battle, it looks like. XF-90 inbound. There's a heavy fighter of some sort inbound. Aim further forward, Postal. Come on, man. Heed your own advice, doofus. F-84, come at me, please. Ah, well. Pretty good. I'll take it. Certainly not my best in the Antonov. It's been a hot minute since I've even played the game or played this plane, but I really do enjoy it. It fits my playstyle. Might not necessarily be your playstyle, but let's take a quick look at the plane and the end results. All right, so we were able to get 13 kills there, 7,000 air damage, 4 sectors captured, but we kind of needed to do that. Yeah, you're in a fighter. Its first, go-to role is not to be capturing things. That being said, you got to do what you got to do, right? We were able to kind of leverage our positioning and take advantage of where we were at. We were lucky that the F-86 never really paid attention to us. Who am I to argue? The XF-90, took some pot shots at us, but never hung around. Never really, again, went out of his way to kill us. F-86 will just straight up murder you in a dogfight. I've come out on top from time to time, but, I mean, the deck is stacked against you. Just on paper, the F-86 is just such a better dogfighting type plane. So I was a little glad to not be the center of attention for the enemy team there. And so I mentioned the Antonov is basically like what the Lavochkin line would have been, could have been, should have been if it continued and didn't deviate to this LA-160. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the LA-160, but it is the only Soviet plane in the game with two 30mm cannons. It is a very maneuverable Tier 9 fighter, but that being said, on paper, it's basically a weaker Ki 162 Mark 1. The biggest difference is this has slightly more range on the guns. And I think that's about it. I think everything else with the Ki 162 is slightly better. Could be wrong. Don't quote me on it. It doesn't really matter. The point is, this plane is just kind of out of left field compared to everything else you've done on the Lavochkin line, right? Let's just start at Tier 6, the LA-5, one of the most popular planes at Tier 5, especially for fighters. Excuse me, Tier 6. You've got centrally located, very nice cannons with a balanced airframe. Not overly maneuverable, but pretty good speed, and good enough maneuverability to get you out of trouble. You go to the LA-7, which is more of the same. Hell, it looks exactly the same, doesn't it? Kind of creepy. But it is literally more of the same. Centrally located cannons, good enough maneuverability, okay-ish airspeed, right? Or good enough airspeed. The bag of tricks for the Lavochkin line has always been its cannons, its ability to get the cannons on target, because there's not a lot of planes of these tiers that have centrally located cannons, and just taking advantage of that. You go up to the LA-9, which again is more of the same, beefier. You've got 4 of the cannons now. Again, good enough maneuverability. It's on the low end of the altitude performance, but okay airspeed. And then you jump to Tier 9 and you go to that LA-160 that just throws everything off. 2 30mm cannons like nothing you've used before in the game for Soviet fighters. Excellent maneuverability, a reasonable bump up in altitude performance, great airspeed. Like all those other things are where you want them to be, but the cannons just are not everybody's cup of tea. Dual 30mm cannons are very divisive, and most people don't like them. And so as much as I enjoyed this particular plane, the LA-160, I completely understand why most people did not. You go to Tier 10 and you get to the LA-15, which gets you back to where you were with the previous Lavochkin planes. Centrally located 23mm cannons, excellent airspeed, and good maneuverability, okay altitude performance. And so this plane is the proper Tier 10 for this line. The Tier 9's always felt a little off. Then the Antonov came out, and the Antonov flies exactly how you would think the Tier 9 Lavochkin should have been. You have 4 23mm cannons. You've got great maneuverability. You've got good enough airspeed, and you've got a bump up in the altitude performance that you would expect from going to Tier 9. And so on paper, that's what I was kind of hoping for. In practice, that's what it is. And so if you really enjoyed the Lavochkins, the LA 5, 7, and 9, this would probably be a plane you'd really enjoy. Now, you do need to keep in mind, I've already mentioned it once, you've got 2 cannons, 2 more cannons. That separation of where they're at is definitely impactful, right? No pun intended. But what I mean by that is these are so much further behind that when they're firing out, they've got an extra freaking 3 feet, 2 meters maybe even, of area that they've got to cover before they even get to where the first bullet's fired from. And on top of that, there's a decent separation from top to bottom here. So it's almost like you're firing them from a different plane. So you need to be mindful of that when you are trying to be accurate with these cannons. I mentioned before, treat it like they're 30mm cannons. So what do I mean by that? Make sure you're giving even more lead so that when that other plane's getting there, your bullets and the other plane are actually running into each other, right? If it's going straight into the distance, it's not as much of an impact. But if they're trying to outturn you, definitely want to make sure that you're giving enough lead. Something else that is incredibly helpful if you've got the ability, if you've got it set up, is your yaw control on your plane. This plane has a really good ability of being able to use the tail fins here and just kind of kinking it over when you're trying to be in a dogfight. I wasn't in a dogfight in this particular battle, but very often you can outmaneuver enemy planes by being able to use your yaw control and kind of cut the corner. Now it's a one and done kind of situation. You cut the corner and you're able to get your significant firepower on target and knock them out, or knock out wings, or knock out engines, so that allows you to keep dogfighting. But by cutting that corner, instead of going in a circle, now you're going to be going in like an oblong, kind of like an egg, but more like an oval. And what that means is you were able to cut that corner, but if you don't get your shots off, you're going to be a sitting duck for them in the next go around. So definitely be mindful of that. But this plane can make those kind of corners very, very well. And I really enjoy low speed dogfighting with this plane. It does it great. Just keep in mind it takes forever for the great airspeed to kick in. This kind of wing shape, I believe, is probably what's contributing to that, if there's any realism in World of Warplanes. But it does take a little while for this plane to really get from 0 to 100, so to speak. Anyway, so I know this plane is on sale. Is it worth it? I mean, that's up to you. It's a lot of money, right? I think $68 or something silly like that. Yeah, you get a ton of gold. You get a crap ton of gold. So it's probably worth it if you're just like looking at the cost of gold and the cost of a tier 9 premium plane. Keep in mind though, and it's your money, so do with it as you please, this plane's not going to be for everybody. If you did not like the Lavochkin line, do not get this plane. There's no, you're just, if you didn't like the Lavochkins, you're not going to like this plane. The only difference between this and the Lavochkins previous to it is, you've got better altitude performance and better speed. Now, if you like the LA-15, but you didn't like the rest of the Lavochkins, then you probably will like this plane, but you've got to keep in mind those guns. Also need to keep in mind, you've got a pretty big profile. I mean, normal planes are just going to have the wings, and there's some open space here. You don't have that open space, so you're going to get hit by a lot of different things, and so just keep that in mind. Yeah, but it is a nice tier 9 premium plane. Again, not great, but it's certainly good, and it's fun, and you know me when it comes to fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your perspective. I know quite a few people grinded this particular plane out back in the day. Man, I lost quite a few days of my life trying to grind this plane out and get a video out on the plane before it was too late. Some sleepless nights for sure. So I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on it if you've already got it. What do you think it was worth the grind, and do you think it would be worth the amount of money? Because I know there's going to be people just asking and wondering, so I'd love to hear your perspective on it. Otherwise, you can always hop in my Discord. We can continue the conversation there. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Bye.